see. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feeling like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul.
Hello, everybody! Hang on. Need lighting. Extra lighting. Okay, everybody, welcome in. Pleasure to have you all here on this fabulous Wednesday night. I kind of lost track of nights here because we didn't stream last night. So we are here tonight. Chaco, welcome in. Pleasure to have you. Thank you for the lurk. Appreciate it. Tonight we're gonna do a book, Sword of Shannara. This is what we're gonna read tonight. Let me go ahead and give a rundown of the schedule. So we're gonna read this tonight. First chapter. We're gonna try to get through the whole chapter in 2 hours. So by 9 o'clock, we're gonna try to get done with the first chapter. If not, it'll carry over next week. Tomorrow night, we're going to learn guitar chords. Believe it's C, D, G, A minor, E minor, and F. And then, Friday night, we have sponsor time for Honkai Star Rail, which should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that. And then Saturday night we're gonna do Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, then we're gonna go into Overwatch 2. And then on Sunday night will be Grand Theft Auto San Andreas once again. You know we gotta do that every Sunday. That's the fun part of this. We do that every Sunday night. So, should be a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. And I hope that you all can join in for it. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to mention something real quick before we jump into the story. I've changed the streaming setup. So we're doing everything now through the gaming computer. We're streaming and gaming through one computer instead of two. We almost had to cancel stream because I couldn't get the capture card to work. But even then, I don't need the capture card tonight. But it would have been nice to have it, fixed and going and everything like that. Just in case we do get done with the first chapter early. We might jump into some Binding of Isaac as well. So we wanted to make sure everything was working. Now we're doing everything that we can to improve the stream. And let me tell you, we're going to get better video quality out of the gaming computer than we are the smaller computer. So the smaller one that was streaming is going to now be used for clips, editing clips, everything like that, to push them out. That and the MacBook Air as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Because it was putting a strain on the processor on the tiny computer. And not only that, but the picture quality was not all that great as it is right now. So I'm happy with what I did tonight. So not only that, but I can see my chat easier too. So that way we're in good shape. Speaking of the sponsor game, make sure that you click that link. Let me see if I can populate. There you go. There's the link for the game to download. You have to download it from that link. However, let me explain this. Before you click that link to download the game, make sure that all your web browsers, the ad blockers turned off, and you're allowing pop-ups, and that your VPN is shut off the entire duration of the sponsor time. We got like 22 days left of it, I believe. So, just to make sure that you do all that stuff first before you download the game, because Stream Elements has been telling me that in times past that when we've done sponsorship and we've had issues with nothing working correctly, where the goals were not being met and stuff like that when they actually have been, is because everybody's downloading the game with an ad blocker enabled and pop-ups blocked. So we need to disable ad blocker, enable pop-ups, disable VPN, and you're all set. Okay? Cool. And then download the link and download it to your PC, create a new account and for the game, and there you go. We're going to do that on Friday. One thing I want to check, I want to see if it got me included in that real quick before we jump into chapter 1. Because I don't know if it counted mine. It should have. Yes, it did. Awesome. So it's actually working the way I told everybody to do it. Yes, you disable everything and you enabled pop-ups. Should say allow pop-ups, and then there you go. So, very, very good. Awesome. All right. So, let's go ahead and jump in to a wonderful story. I think I read this in like 7th grade. I'm pretty sure I did. I don't recall reading it in elementary school because I believe this book came out this book came out when I was in 7th grade. I want to say that. Doesn't help that they don't have the date on the back. And I can't find the actual date, and I'm surprised that I don't see a date. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. This book came out originally in 1977. God, it's been out that long? God, and I haven't heard about it until at least 7th grade? Holy shit. That's interesting. That's very interesting to me. Because I did not know that. Now I know. Cool. So we're going to read this wonderful book. Every single Wednesday until we finish the book, we're going to read a chapter, at least a chapter. And I'm going to try to not be boring with it. What I mean by that is I'm going to try to change my voice to the characters. As far as, sounding different between characters. And that's how I'm going to try to do it. That's my plan, at least. Oh, yes, so first of all, evening crew, thank you for helping me open up shop this evening. My wonderful wife, my wonderful, gorgeous wife, Hibiscus3541, thank you so much for being here, my love. I love you so goddamn much. Quake is not here. Quake is at work. So my wife is taking over the mod duties, as it should be. So awesome, awesome, awesome stuff going on. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into this book, and let's have fun with it, shall we? All right, and it's written by Terry Brooks. Terry Brooks. And on the page in here, I mean, this book has gone through quite a bit of changes. Not necessarily with the story, but with the so it was originally written in 77. It was copyright in 77. Copyright renewed was 2005. Illustration copyright was 77, renewed 2005. And the map was redrawn for this book in 2024, so just last year. And then we have the trade paperback edition, which was released in 2024, which was last year as well. So that's pretty cool. So this book has gone through a lot of different renovations from the original, which is cool. I like that theory. And then with the preface, for my parents who believed. Terry Brooks wrote that. And then if you look at this page, here's the map. Here's the map of the whole story. So like on here we have Strelheim Plains, we have got some of this. The Wasteland, Blue Divide, Eastland. I think that's Rab Plains, or, yeah, Rab Plains. Yeah, because then you got Rab River, Upper Anar, Northland. Should be a Lower Anar. I don't see it. Okay. Grasslands. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. It'll explain more with the map. You guys will understand that. Okay, chapter 1. Here we go. How many pages is chapter 1? Because maybe we won't be getting through the whole... No, 18. What does it start on? Page... let me guess. Page 1. Page 3. Okay. So we gotta go through to page 18. I don't know if we'll make it. And if we don't, we'll continue it next week. We'll just be a little behind, but that's okay. Okay, here we go. The sun was already sinking into the deep green of the hills to the west of the valley, the red and gray pink of its shadows touching the corners of the land, when Flick Ohmsford began his descent. The trail stretched out unevenly down the northern slope, winding through the huge boulders which studded the rugged terrain in massive clumps, disappearing into the thick forests of the lowlands to reappear in brief glimpses in small clearings and thinning spaces of woodland. Flick followed the familiar trail with his eyes as he trudged wearily along, his light pack slung loosely over one shoulder. His broad, wind-burned face bore a set, placid look, and only the wide gray eyes revealed the restless energy that burned beneath the calm exterior. He was a young man, though his stocky build and the grizzled brown hair and shaggy eyebrows made him look much older. He wore the loose-fitting work clothes of the Vale people, and in the pack he carried were several metal implements that rolled and clanked loosely against one another. There was a slight chill in the evening air, and Flick clutched the collar of his open wool shirt closer to his neck. His journey ahead lay through forests and rolling flatlands, the latter not yet visible to him as he passed into the forests, and the darkness of the tall oaks and somber hickories reached upward to overlap and blot out the cloudless night sky. The sun had set, leaving only the deep blue of the heavens pinpointed by thousands of friendly stars. The huge trees shut out even these, and Flick was left alone in silent darkness as he moved slowly along the beaten path. Because he had traveled this same route 100 times, the young man noticed immediately the unusual stillness that seemed to have captivated the entire valley this evening. The familiar buzzing and chirping of insects normally present in the quiet of the night, the cries of the birds that awoke with the setting of the sun to fly in search of food, all were missing. Flick listened intently for some sound of life, but his keen ears could detect nothing. He shook his head uneasily. The deep silence was unsettling, particularly in view of the rumors of a frightening black-winged creature sighted in the night skies north of the valley only days earlier. He forced himself to whistle and turned his thoughts back to his day's work in the country just to the north of the vale, where outlying families farmed and tended domestic livestock. He traveled to their homes every week, supplying various items that they required and bringing bits of news on the happenings of the Vale and occasionally the distant cities of the deep Southland. Few people knew the surrounding countryside as well as he did, and fewer still cared to travel beyond the comparative safety of their homes in the valley. Men were more inclined to remain in isolated communities these days and let the rest of the world get along as best it could. But Flick liked to travel outside the valley from time to time, and the outlying homesteads were in need of his services and were willing to pay him for the trouble. Okay. Okay. I got it, dear. Okay. Where did I leave? Okay. Flick's father was not one to let an opportunity pass him by where there was money to be made, and the arrangement seemed to work out well for all concerned. A low-hanging branch brushed against his head caused Flick to start suddenly and leap to one side. In chagrin, he straightened himself and glared back at the leafy obstacle before continuing his journey at a slightly quicker pace. He was deep in the lowland forests now, and only slivers of moonlight were able to find their way through the thick boughs overhead. The thick boughs, there we go, overhead to light the winding path dimly. It was so dark that Flick was having trouble finding the trail, and as he studied the lay of the land ahead, He again found himself conscious of the heavy silence. It was as if all life had suddenly extinguished, and he alone remained to find his way out of this forest tomb. Again he recalled the strange rumors. He felt a bit anxious in spite of himself and glanced worriedly worriedly around. But nothing stirred on the trail ahead nor moved in the trees about him, and he felt embarrassingly relieved. Pausing momentarily in a moonlit clearing, he gazed at the fullness of the night sky before passing abruptly into the trees beyond. He walked slowly, picking his way along the winding path that had narrowed beyond the clearing and now seemed to disappear into a wall of trees and bushes ahead. He knew that it was merely an illusion, but found himself glancing about uneasily all the same. A few months later, he was again on a wider trail and could discern bits of sky peeking through the heavy trees. Hold on, guys. Hang on. Let me fix this little issue first of all. Turn that off. Okay. Alright, we should be good now. We should be fine. Okay. Okay, where was that? Okay. He was almost to the bottom of the valley and about 2 miles from his home. He smiled and began whistling an old tavern song as he hurried on. He was so intent on the trail ahead and the open land beyond the forest that he failed to notice the huge black shadow that seemed to rise up suddenly, detaching itself from a great oak tree on his left and moving swiftly toward the path to intercept him. The dark figure was almost on top of the veil man before Flick sensed its presence looming up before him like a great black stone which threatened to crush his smaller being. Hey, welcome in. Pleasure to have you here. With a startled cry of fear, he leaped aside, his pack falling to the path. There we go. With a crash of metal, and his left hand whipped out the long thin dagger at his waist. Even as he crouched to defend himself, he was stayed by a commanding arm raised above the figure before him, and a strong yet reassuring voice that spoke out quickly. Wait a minute, friend. I'm no enemy and have no wish to harm you. I merely seek directions and would be grateful if you could show me the proper path. Flick relaxed his guard a bit and tried to peer into the blackness of the figure before him in an effort to discover some semblance of a human being. He could see nothing. However, he could see nothing, however. And he moved to the left with cautious steps in an attempt to catch the features of the dark figure in the tree's shadowed moonlight. I assure you, I mean no harm, the voice continued, as if reading the Veilman's mind. I did not mean to frighten you, but I didn't see you until you were almost upon me, and I was afraid you might pass me by without realizing I was there. The voice stopped, and the huge black figure stood silently, though Flick could feel the eyes following him as he edged about the path. to put his own back to the light. Slowly, the pale moonlight began to etch out the stranger's features in vague lines and blue shadows. For a long moment, the two faced one another in silence, and each studying the other. Flick, in an effort to decide what it was he faced, the stranger in quiet anticipation. Then suddenly the huge figure lunged with terrible swiftness. His powerful hands seized the veilman's wrists, and Flick was lifted abruptly off the solid earth and held high, his knife dropping from nerveless fingers as the deep voice laughed mockingly up at him. "Well, well, my young friend. What are you going to do now, I wonder? I could cut your heart out on the spot and leave you for the wolves if I chose, couldn't I?" Flick struggled violently to free himself, terror numbing his mind to any thought but that of escape. He had no idea what manner of creature had subdued him, but it was far more powerful than any normal man, and apparently prepared to dispatch Flick quickly. Then abruptly his captor held him out at arm's length, and the mocking voice became icy cold with displeasure. "Enough of this, boy. We have played our little game, and still you know nothing of me. I'm tired and hungry, and have no wish to be delayed on the forest trail in the chill of the evening while you decide if I am man or beast. I will set you down that you may show me the path. I warn you, do not try to run from me, or it will be the worse for you." The strong voice trailed off, and the tone of displeasure disappeared as the former hint of mockery returned with a short laugh. "Besides," the figure rumbled as the fingers released their iron grip and Flick slipped to the path, I may be a better friend than you realize." The figure moved back a step as Flick straightened himself, rubbing his wrists carefully to restore the circulation to his numbed hands. He wanted to run, but was certain that the stranger would catch him again and this time finish him without further thought. He leaned over cautiously and picked up the fallen dagger, returning it to his belt. Flick could see the fellow more clearly now, and a quick scrutiny of him revealed that he was definitely human, though much larger than any man Flick had ever seen. He was at least 7 feet tall. Get that? 7 feet tall. But exceptionally lean, though it was difficult to be certain about this since his tall frame was wrapped in a flowing black cloak with a loose cowl pulled close above his head. The darkened face was long and deeply lined, giving it a craggy appearance. The eyes were deep set and almost completely hidden from view by shaggy eyebrows that nodded fiercely over a long, flat nose. A short black beard outlined a wide mouth that was just a line on the face, a line that never seemed to move. The overall appearance was frightening, and all blackness and size... The overall appearance was frightening, all blackness and size, and Flick had to fight down the urge building within him to make a break for the forest's edge. He looked straight into the deep, hard eyes of the stranger, though not without some difficulty, and managed a weak smile. I thought you were a thief, he mumbled hesitantly. Um, hold on. You were mistaken, was the quiet retort. Then the voice softened a bit. You must learn to know a friend from an enemy. Sometime your life may depend upon it. Now then, let's have your name. Flick Ohmsford. Flick hesitated and then continued in a slightly braver tone of voice. My father is Curzad Ohmsford. He manages an inn in Shady Vale, a mile or two from here. You can find lodging and food there. Ah, Shady Vale, the stranger exclaimed suddenly. Yes, that is... where I'm going. He paused as if reflecting on his own words. Flick watched him cautiously as he rubbed his craggy face with crooked fingers and looked beyond the forest's edge to the rolling grasslands of the valley. He was still looking away when he spoke again. You have a brother? It was not a question, it was a simple statement of fact. It was spoken so distantly and calmly, as if the tall stranger were not at all interested in any sort of a reply, that Flick almost missed hearing it. Then suddenly realizing the significance of the remark, he started and looked quickly at the other. Oh, well, okay, let's go back a little bit. You have a brother. Okay, it was not a question, it was a simple statement of fact. It was spoken so distantly and calmly as if the tall stranger were not at all interested in any sort of reply, that Flick almost missed hearing it. Then suddenly realizing the significance of the remark, he started and looked quickly at the other. How did... Oh well, the man said. Don't every young Valeman like yourself have a brother somewhere? Flick nodded dumbly, unable to comprehend what it was that the other was trying to say, and wondering vaguely how much he knew about Shady Vale. The stranger was looking questioningly at him, evidently waiting to be guided to the promised food and lodging. Flick quickly turned away to find his hastily discarded pack, picked it up, and slung it over his shoulder, looking back at the figure towering over him. The path is this way, he pointed, and the two began walking. They passed out of the deep forest and entered rolling, gentle hills, which they would follow to the hamlet of Shady Vale at the far end of the valley. Out of the woods, it was a bright night. The moon was a full white globe overhead, its glow clearly illuminating the landscape of the valley and the path which the two travelers were following. The path itself was a vague line winding over the grassy hills and distinguishable only by occasional rain-washed ruts and flat, hard patches of earth breaking through the heavy grass. The wind had gathered strength and rushed at the two men with quick gusts that whipped at their clothing as they walked, forcing them to bow their heads slightly to shield their eyes. Neither spoke a word as they proceeded, each concentrating on the lay of the land beyond, as new hills and small depressions appeared with the passing of each traveled knoll. Chaco says, this is so good while I edit for real. Ahaha. Awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Except for the rushing of the wind, the night remained silent. Flick listened intently, and once he thought he heard a sharp cry far to the north, but an instant later it was gone, and he did not hear it again. The stranger appeared to be unconcerned with the silence. His attention seemed to be focused on a constantly changing point on the ground some 6 feet in front of them. Da da da. He did not look up, and he did not look at his young guide for directions as they went. Instead, he seemed to know exactly where the other was going and walked confidently beside him. After a while, Flick began to have trouble keeping pace with the tall man, who traveled the path with long, swinging strides that dwarfed Flick's shorter ones. At times, the Veilman almost had to run to keep up. Once or twice, the other man glanced down at his smaller companion, and seeing the difficulty he was having in trying to match strides, slowed to an easier pace. Finally, as the southern slopes of the valley drew near, the hills began to level off into shrub-covered grasslands that hinted at the appearance of new forests. There we go. The terrain began to dip downward at a gentle slope, and Flick located several familiar landmarks that bounded the outskirts of Shady Vale. He felt a surge of relief in spite of himself. The hamlet and his own warm home were just ahead. The stranger did not speak a single word during the brief journey, and Flick was reluctant to attempt any conversation. Instead, he tried to study the giant in quick glimpses as they walked, without permitting the other to observe what he was doing. He was understandably awed. The long, craggy face, shaded by the sharp black beard, recalled the fearful warlocks described to him by stern elders before the glowing embers of a late evening fire when he was only a child. Most frightening were the stranger's eyes, or rather the deep, dark caverns beneath the shaggy brows, where his eyes should be. Flick could not penetrate the heavy shadows that continued to mask that entire area of his face. The deeply lined countenance seemed carved from stone, fixed and bowed slightly to the path before it. As Flick pondered the inscrutable visage, he suddenly realized that the stranger had never even mentioned his name. The two were on the outer lip of the vale where the now clearly distinguishable path wound through the large, crowded bushes that almost choked off human passage. The tall stranger stopped suddenly and stood perfectly still, head bowed, listening intently. Flick halted beside him and waited quietly, also listening, but unable to detect anything. They remained motionless for seemingly endless minutes, and then the big man turned hurriedly to his smaller companion. "Quickly! Hide in the bushes ahead! Go now, run!" He half pushed, half threw Flick in front of him as he raced swiftly toward the tall brush. Flick scurried fearfully for the sanctuary of the shrubbery, his pack slapping wildly against his back and the metal implements clanging. The stranger turned on him and snatched the pack away, tucking it beneath the long robe. "Silence!" he hissed. "Run now! Not a sound!" They ran quickly to the dark wall of foliage, some 50 feet ahead, and the tall man hurriedly pushed Flick through the leafy branches that whipped against their faces, pulling him roughly onto the middle of a large clump of brush where they stood breathing heavily. Flick glanced at his companion and saw that he was not looking through the brush at the country around them, but instead was peering upward where the night sky was visible in small, irregular patches through the foliage. The sky seemed clear to the Veilman as he followed the other's intense gaze, and only the changeless stars winked back at him as he watched and waited. Minutes passed once he attempted to speak, but was quickly silenced by the strong hands of the stranger, gripping his shoulders in warning. Ooh. Flick remained standing, looking at the night and straining his ears for some sound of the apparent danger. But he heard nothing save their own heavy breathing and a quiet hush of wind through the weaving branches of their cover. Then, just as Flick prepared to ease his tired limbs by sitting, the sky was suddenly blotted out by something huge and black that floated overhead and then passed from sight. A moment later, it passed again, circling slowly without seeming to move. Its shadow hanging ominously above two hidden travelers as if preparing to fall upon them. A sudden feeling of terror raced through Flick's mind, trapping it in an iron web as it strained to flee the fearful madness penetrating inward. Something seemed to be reaching downward into his chest, slowly squeezing the air from his lungs, and he found himself gasping for breath. A vision passed sharply before him of a black image laced with red of clawed hands and giant wings, of a thing so evil that its very existence threatened his frail life. For an instant, the young man thought he would scream, but the hand of the stranger gripped his shoulder tightly, pulling him back from the precipice. I think that's how you say it. Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the giant shadow was gone, and the peaceful sky of the patched night was all that remained. The hand on Flick's shoulder slowly relaxed its grip, and the Veilman slid heavily to the ground, his body limp as he broke out in a cold sweat. The tall stranger seated himself quietly next to his companion, and a small smile crossed his face. He laid one long hand on Flick's and patted it as he would a child's. "Come now, my young friend," he whispered. "You're alive and well, and the veil lies just ahead." Flick looked up at the other's calm face, his own eyes wide with fear as he shook his head slowly. "That thing. What was that terrible thing?" "Just a shadow," the man replied easily. "But this is neither the place nor the time to concern ourselves with such matters. We will speak of it later. Right now, I would like some food and a warm fire before I lose all patience." He helped the Veilman to his feet and returned his pack to him. Then, with a sweep of his robed arm, he indicated that he was ready to follow if the other was ready to lead. They left the cover of the brush, Flick not without misgivings as he glanced apprehensively at the night sky. It almost seemed as if the whole business had been the result of an overactive imagination. Flick pondered the matter solemnly and quickly decided that whatever the case, he had had enough for one evening. First this nameless giant, and then that frightening shadow. He silently vowed that he would think twice before traveling again at night so far from safety of the veil. Several minutes later, the trees and brush began to thin out, and the flickering of yellow light was visible through the darkness. As they drew closer, the vague forms of buildings began to take shape as square and rectangular bulks in the gloom. The path widened into a smoother dirt road that led straight into the hamlet, and Flick smiled gratefully at the lights that shone in friendly greeting through the windows of the silent buildings. No one moved on the road ahead. If it had not been for the lights, one might well have wondered if anyone at all lived in the vale. As it was, Flick's thoughts were far from such questions. Already he was considering how much he ought to tell his father and Shea, not wishing to worry them about strange shadows that could easily have been the product of his imagination and gloomy night. The stranger at his side might shed some light on the subject at a later time, but so far he had not proved to be much of a conversationalist. Flick glanced involuntarily at the tall figure walking silently beside him. Again he was chilled by the blackness of the man. It seemed to reflect from his cloak and hood over his bowed head, and lean hands to shroud the entire figure in hazy gloom. Whoever he was, Flick felt certain that he would be a dangerous enemy. And let me take a quick little drink break right here to, to make it to where I can continue to talk. Bottoms up. Welcome in, everybody. Pleasure to have you here, by the way. We are reading the first chapter of Sword of Shannara. Trying to mimic the characters, their voices. But a lot of it right now is the narrative of the story. It'll get more and more to where we're going to have, literally, I think, 4 different voices at once. Now, this could be rather bit interesting. But it's a good book. It's a good story. That's for sure. Alright. And we're going to chapter 2, which we only have now a few pages. Literally, we have to get through page 18. We're on the lower half of 12. So we're almost done with chapter 1 as it is already, which is awesome. Alright. They passed slowly between the buildings of the hamlet, and Flick could see torches burning through the wooden frames of the wide windows. The houses themselves were long, low structures, each containing only a ground floor beneath a slightly sloping roof, which in most instances tapered off on one side to shelter a small veranda. Let's say it like that, veranda. Supported by heavy poles affixed to a long porch. The buildings were constructed of wood with stone foundations and stone frontings on a few. Flick glanced through the curtained windows, catching glimpses of the inhabitants. The sight of familiar faces reassuring to him in the darkness outside. It had been a frightening night, and he was relieved to be home among people he knew. The stranger remained oblivious to everything. He did not bother with more than a casual glance at the hamlet, and had not spoken once since they had entered the vale. Flick remained incredulous. Yeah, that's a weird word. Incredulous. At the way in which the other followed him. He wasn't following Flick at all, but seemed to know exactly where the Veil man was going. When the road branched off in opposite directions amid identical rows of houses, the tall man had no difficulty in determining the correct route. That's a little spooky. Though he never once looked at Flick, nor even raised his head to study the road. Flick found himself trailing along while the other guided. That's a little bit interesting, right, chat? Like, okay, you got this guy that you don't know, and he knows the way. Almost like he's been there before, right? I mean, that's the way I would see it. That's how I would see it. The two quickly reached the inn. It was a large structure consisting of a main building and lounging porch, with two long wings that extended out and back on either side. It was constructed of huge logs cut and laced on a high stone foundation and covered with the familiar wood shingle roof. This particular roof much higher than those of the family dwellings. The central building was well lighted, and muffled voices could be heard from within, interspersed with occasional laughter and shouts. The wings of the inn were in darkness. It was there that the sleeping quarters of the guests were located. The smell of roasting meat permeated the night air, and Flick quickly led the way up the wooden steps of the long porch to the wide double doors at the center of the inn. The tall stranger followed without a word. Flick slid back the heavy metal door latch and pulled on the handles. The big door on the right swung open to admit them into a large lounging room filled with benches, high-backed chairs, and several long, heavy wooden tables set against the wall to the left and rear. The room was brightly lit by the tall candles on the tables and wall racks, and by the huge fireplace built into the center of the wall on the left. Flick was momentarily blinded as his eyes adjusted to this new light. He squinted sharply, glancing past the fireplace and lounging furniture to the closed double doors at the back of the room and over to the long serving bar running down the length of the wall to his right. The men gathered about the bar looked up idly as the pair entered the room, their faces registering undisguised amazement at the appearance of the tall stranger. But Flick's silent companion did not seem to see them, and they quickly returned to their conversation and evening drinks, glancing back at the newcomers once or twice to see what they were going to do. The pair remained standing at the door for a few moments more as Flick looked around a second time at the faces of the small crowd to see if his father were present. The stranger motioned to the lounging chairs on the left. I will have a seat while you find your father. Perhaps we can have dinner together when you return. Without further comment, he moved quietly away to a small table at the rear of the room and seated himself with his back to the men at the bar. His face slightly bowed and turned away from Flick. The Veilman watched him for a moment, then moved quickly to the double doors at the rear of the room and pushed through them to the hallway beyond. His father was probably in the kitchen, having dinner with Shia. Flick hurried down the hall, past several closed doors before reaching the one that opened into the inn kitchen. As he entered, the two cooks who were working at the rear of the room greeted the young man with a cheerful good evening. His father was seated at the end of a long counter at the left. As Flick had anticipated, he was in the process of finishing his dinner. He waved a brawny hand in greeting. Okay. I'm assuming it's like that. Hey, welcome in. Pleasure to have you here. We're reading Sword of Shannara. Chapter 1. We're almost done with Chapter 1, by the way. Okay, now I gotta change voice for this one. You're a bit later than usual, son, he growled pleasantly. Come over here and have dinner while there's still something to eat. Flick walked over wearily, lowered the traveling pack to the floor with a slight clatter, and perched himself on one of the high counter stools. His father's large frame straightened itself as he shoved back the empty plate and looked quizzically at the other, his wide forehead wrinkling. I met a traveler on the road coming into the valley, Flick exclaimed hesitantly. He wants a room and dinner. Asked us to join him. Well, he came to the right place for a room, the elder Omsford declared. I don't see why we shouldn't join him for a bite to eat. I could easily do with another helping. He raised his massive frame from the stool and signaled the cooks for 3 dinners. Flick looked about for Shia, but he was nowhere in sight. His father lumbered over to the cooks to give some special instructions on preparing the meal for the small party, and Flick turned to the basin next to the sink to wash off the dirt and grime from the road. When his father came over to him, Flick asked where his brother had gone. Shia has gone out on an errand for me and should return on the moment, his father replied. By the way, what's the name of this man you brought back with you? I don't know. He didn't say, Flick shrugged. His father frowned and mumbled something about close-mouthed strangers, rounding off his muffled comment with a vow to have no more mysterious types at his inn. Then motioning to his son, he led the way through the kitchen doors, his wide shoulders brushing the wall beyond as he swung to his left toward the lounging area. Flick followed quickly, but his broad face wrinkled in doubt. The stranger was still sitting quietly, his back to the men gathered at the serving bar. When he heard the rear door swing open, he shifted about slightly to catch a glimpse of the two who entered. The stranger studied the close resemblance between father and son. Both were of medium height and heavy build, with same broad, placid faces and grizzled brown hair. They hesitated in the doorway, and Flick pointed toward the dark figure. He could see the surprise in Curzad Holmesford's eyes as the innkeeper regarded him for a minute before approaching. The stranger stood up courteously, towering over the other two as they came up to him. "Welcome to my inn, stranger," the elder Olmsford greeted him, trying vainly to peer beneath the cloak hood that shadowed the other's dark face. "My name is, as the boy has probably told you, is Curzad Olmsford." The stranger shook the extended hand with a grip that caused the stocky man to grimace and then nodded to Flick. "Your son was kind enough to show me to this pleasant inn." He smiled with what Flick could have sworn was a mocking grin. "I hope you will join me for dinner and a glass of beer." Certainly, answered the innkeeper, lumbering past the other to a vacant chair where he seated himself heavily. Flick also pulled up a chair and sat down, his eyes still on the stranger, who was in the process of complimenting his father on having such a fine inn. Excuse me. The elder, Olmsford, beamed with pleasure and nodded in satisfaction to Flick as he signaled one of the men at the serving bar for 3 glasses. The tall man still did not pull back the hood of the cloak, shading his face. Flick wanted to peer beneath the shadows, but was afraid the stranger would notice, and one such attempt had already earned him sore wrists and a healthy respect for the big man's strength and temper. It was safer to remain in doubt. He sat in silence as the conversation between his father and the stranger lengthened from polite comments on the mildness of the weather to a more intimate discussion of the people and happenings of the Vale. Flick noticed that his father, who never needed much encouragement anyway, was carrying the entire conversation with only casual questions interjected by the other man. It probably did not matter, but the Olmsfords knew nothing about the stranger. He had not even told them his name. Now he was quite subtly drawing out information on the Vale from the unsuspecting innkeeper. The whole situation bothered Flick, but he was uncertain what he should do. He began to wish that Shia would appear and see what was happening. But his brother remained absent, and the long-awaited dinner was served and entirely consumed before one of the wide double doors at the front of the lobby swung open, and Shia appeared from out of the darkness. For the first time, Flick saw the hooded stranger take more than a passing interest in someone. Strong hands gripped the table as the black figure rose silently, towering over the Olmsfords. He seemed to have forgotten they were there, as the lined brow furrowed more deeply and the craggy features radiated an intense concentration. For one frightening second, Flick believed that the stranger was somehow about to destroy Shia, but then the idea disappeared and was replaced with another. The man was searching his brother's mind. He stared intently at Shia, his deep, shaded eyes running quickly over the young man's slim countenance, and slight build. He noted the telltale elven features immediately, the hint of slightly pointed ears beneath the tousled blonde hair, the pencil-like eyebrows that ran straight up at a sharp angle from the bridge of the nose rather than across the brow, and the slimness of the nose and jaw. He saw intelligence and honesty in that face. Yeah, he saw intelligence and honesty in that face. And now, as he faced Shia across the room, he saw determination in the penetrating blue eyes. Determination that spread in a flush over the youthful features as the two men locked their gazes on one another. For a moment, Shia hesitated in awe of the huge, dark apparition across the room. He felt unexplainably trapped, but, bracing himself with sudden resolve, he walked toward the forbidding figure. Flick and his father watched Shia approach them, his eyes still on the tall stranger, and then, as if suddenly realizing who he was, the two rose from the table. There was a moment of awkward silence as they faced one another, and then all of the Olmsfords began greeting each other at once in sudden jumble of words that relieved the initial tension. Shia smiled at Flick, but could not take his eyes off the imposing figure before him. Shia was slightly shorter than his brother and was therefore even more in the shadow of the stranger than Flick had been, though he was less nervous about it as he faced the man. Curzad Olmsford was talking to him about his errand, and his attention was momentarily diverted while he replied to his father's insistent questions. After a few preliminary remarks, Shia turned back to the newcomer to the Vale. I don't believe we have met. Yet you seem to know me from somewhere, and I have the strangest feeling that I should know you. The dark face above him nodded as the familiar mocking smile crossed it fleetingly. Perhaps you should know me, though it is not surprising that you do not remember. But I know who you are indeed. I know you well. Shia was dumbfounded at this reply and unable to respond. Stood staring at the stranger. The other raised a lean hand to his chin to stroke the small dark beard, glancing slowly around at the three men who waited for him to continue. Flick's open mouth was framing the question on the minds of all the Olmsfords, when the stranger reached up and pulled back the cowl of his cloak to reveal clearly the dark face, now framed by long black hair, cut nearly shoulder length, and shading the deep-set eyes, which still showed only as black slits in the shadows beneath the heavy brows. My name is Alanon, he announced quietly. There was a long moment of stunned silence as three listeners stared in speechless amazement. Alanon, the mysterious wanderer of the four lands, historian of the races, philosopher and teacher, and some said practitioner of the mystic arts. Alanon, the man who had been everywhere, from the darkest havens of the Anar to the forbidden heights of the Charnel Mountains. His was a name familiar to the people of even the most isolated Southland communities. Now he stood unexpectedly before the Olmsfords, none of whom had ventured outside their valley home more than a handful of times in their lives. Alanon smiled warmly for the first time, but inwardly he felt pity for them. The quiet existence they had known for so many years was finished, and in a way, it was his responsibility. What brings you here? Shia asked at last. The tall man looked sharply at him and uttered a deep, low chuckle that caught them all by surprise. You, Shia, he murmured. I came looking for you. And that, my chat buddies, is the first chapter. And it's 8:24. What a perfect time for a break, right? What does everybody think of that story so far? Good? I love this story. It's just trying to figure out the voices, and I know the next time we read it, I might forget which voice is which. But it's okay, because you know what? It's content creation, right? We can change the voices if need be. Make it to where it's, real funny. Or we read normal. But I like having the voice change because it's like you get like each different character. Which is awesome. And then we could do like it could be like an acting out, like a true, like they're sitting here, like right here in front of you, like I am telling you the story. So anyway, um that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is next week on Wednesday night. Um and that's where we'll continue. For now, though, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go ahead and, I think, jump into a daily run on Binding of Isaac since we missed last night. So stick around, guys. Don't go anywhere, except to get up and stretch, get a drink, possibly. But we shall be back shortly, and we'll think about getting started with some Binding of Isaac, so stick around. Okay, guys, we're back. Gonna change the game real quick. Binding of Isaac. Repentance. Oh, whoop. Let's try that again. And then we're going to go ahead and do the daily run. So let me change this to daily run. Okay. Cool. Category's still good. Okay, cool. And real quick, let's go ahead and close out these. Wow, we are doing very, very well with our stats. That's good. I'm loving it. All right, let's get Binding of Isaac going real fast. And let's go to the gaming screen and let's get the window capture back on. That's not working right.
Isaac and his mother lived alone in a small house on a hill.
Oh, it's on game cap. Oh, okay.
Drawing pictures.
Hold on, I gotta move the display though.
Watched Christian broadcasts on the television. Life was simple, and they were both happy.
There we go.
That was until the day Isaac's mom
heard
a voice from above. Your son has become corrupted by sin.
Why won't it?
He needs to be saved. I will do my best to save him, my lord, Isaac's mother replied, rushing into Isaac's room, removing all that was evil from his life. Again.
Guess it would help if I turned on the controller. Let's go into a daily run solo. Looks like we're Bethany tonight. Scapular. Okay. Oh, I can't shoot at that. Dang it, dang it. Yeah, protect me. Shield me. Shit. Now, real quick, guys, I'm gonna say this. I don't know when exactly it happened, but it was not when we were streaming on another platform over the weekend. But I think it was the last time that Curbs and I did the online co-op on this game that I unlocked D6, and it did not tell me it did. But tonight when I was testing the stream parameters on the gaming computer, found out that we have D6, so obviously it was when Curbs and I played the last time, which is awesome. So, let's really, really cool that we have that now. Because now we can do speedruns. Or streaks. Oh shit. Okay, that was short-lived. Hey, welcome into the stream. Pleasure to have you here. Yeah, check this action out. There's the D6, guys. Right there. There's the D6. Alright. Okay, this might almost be a scary thought. Yeah, we have Epicac. Isaac has Epicac. As long as we're careful, we should be okay. Whoops. There we go. Whoops. We got second hand. The nice thing about this is the fact if there's a secret room around, we will find it. We won't have to use any bombs to find it. Just like that. Give me the key, give me the coins. Ooh, check this section out. Alright, let's go. Ah! That's okay. As we move forward. Burning Basement 2. Took him out. Oh, okay. Alright, we'll keep D6. Amnesia. Okay, at least it wasn't anything bad. Speed down. Let's get Smart Fly. Oh, we're already gonna go after this guy. Whoops. Took care of that. And we got Pageant Boy. Alright. We're just gonna continue on going here. Whoops. Oh, one little coin, that's it? Oh, Jesus. Might as well go in the shop since we have some money. Take that. Nothing there. Ooh, we got the sun. That'll help us. No. Shit, I just wasted money. I want to keep the D6. Damn it! Oh, come on. There we go. Not playing very nice, are we? At least the health is still good. Alright. Let's go back to the other room and let's grab that heart before we grab the snack. There we go. Alright, next floor. Doing okay. Alright. Flooded caves. There we go. Oh, that was a close call. There we go. Spider butt? No, thank you. Took them out in a hurry. Okay, there we go. Nope, one room I don't want to be in. There we go. No health? Oh, shit. Come on. There we go. Oh, shit.
Two of spades.
Okay, we got the health back. And we got 50% off. Oh, shit. There we go. God damn you. There we go. Placenta. So we're just without a red heart, which is okay. Let's go. All right. Shit. Okay. Oh, we'll go this way, why not? Weird music, I know. Ooh, planetarium. We got Pluto. Oh, we're a size down now. Shit. Two keys, okay. Might as well get a third key. Nope. It's one thing I don't want is that big ass pill. Rune shard. Yeah, I was hoping there'd be a soul heart over here. But there is none. That was cool, though. You son of a... Okay. I guess we'll go this way. Okay. The moon.
The moon.
Took care of that. Ooh. Still hurt? Don't mind if I do. Shit. Freezer baby. Okay. I was gonna say, where did we enter that room? I need to go back and get that rune. Thank you. God damn it. God damn, quit hitting me. And accept your fate. Thank you. Alright. The mom floor. Here we go. Depths 2. Oh, shit. I can see forever. Oh, it's not gonna close? Okay. Okay, glad that the retrovision's gone. Shit. Love it. Okay, let's go back this way and let's go downward. I hate being small. Few more coins. Okay. Got Lucky Penny. Hold on, let's go this way. Somewhat might have been a bad idea. But we got it. Got the sun. Let's see if there's any soul hearts on these ones. Nope. Oh, there's one. Okay. Good deal. Where are we going? The Empress. Another room. Oh, the mom fight is near. Here we go.
Isaac!
Yay! We'll take the Polaroid. Okay, guys, we're not leaving stream until we finish this. Just that heads up. Thunder lead the Nuggets 85-56. Oh shit. Ooh, Sacred Room. I want that key. Thank you. Damn it. Try to take me out, huh? All of a sudden, I'm doing really good with this game. With this run. No! There's still something, yep. There we go. Wow. Oh shit! Well, god damn it. Oh my gosh. Well, we got pretty far. not bad. Not bad at all. But, yeah. Hey, we got where did we get 31 mom kills? That's weird. Oh, wait, I think we've had 31. Oh, yeah, we had 31 from the other night. That's right. Now that I remember. Now that I remember. Quit out of that. Okay. Whoa. What happened here? That's weird. I'm like a Walt Disney right here on ice. That's very weird. Are we still... Okay. Well, that's interesting, guys. Very, very interesting. I'm a frozen Walt Disney now. How do you like that? That's weird. Okay, no. No. It's not working. Let me delete that. Wow, okay. Then let's do this again. And let's go to properties. Configure, cancel. Okay. Yeah, we're frozen. Interesting as that may seem, we're frozen. Like literally nothing's changing for us. Alright guys, wow. Am I frozen like entirely? Um Okay. You guys can see me move. That's the funny part. As for me, as for OBS basically crashed halfway. That's funny. Because I can't switch scenes or anything. Let me see if I could switch it and it switches. Yeah, it switches on the, okay. Well, that's interesting, guys. That's funny. Okay. Go back to chat. So let's go ahead and talk real quick. And then we'll get on out of here. How about that? Thank you guys for the support. Greatly appreciate it. Really, really do. I'm like halfway off the screen here. That's a scary thought, too. I don't know what the heck is going on here. Okay. thank you for the support. Greatly appreciate it. Hope you all had a good time. I know I did. Thank you for being here for Chapter 1 of Sword of Shannara. It was an awesome read for the first chapter. We'll continue that next Wednesday. Should be a lot of fun. Don't forget Honkai Star Rail. Make sure that you turn off your ad blocker, turn off your VPN, and allow pop-ups, and then click on this link to download the game to your PC and help reach the goals and help support the channel. All money that is earned through sponsorships goes right back to you guys as far as gifted subs, stuff like that. So new games, everything. So please consider doing that. Other than that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. It's already 9:07. I gotta get ready for bed and whatnot. Tomorrow night we will be doing guitar lesson, guitar chords, C, D, G, A minor, E minor, F. So make sure that you tune in for that. And as always, thank you guys for the support. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope to see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time sharp for some guitar learning. Should be a lot of fun. Don't be strangers and take care of yourselves and each other, by the way. And hope to see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Take care.
Alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.